Hey guys, in this video I want to talk about my year 2024, what everything happened in this year, because I think this was one of the fastest years that I ever experienced. I don't know if it is for you, but I have this feeling the older I get, the faster the years just go by. I couldn't make the video earlier. Now we have already New Year. This is the 2nd of January. So I wish you a happy New Year. I hope all of your dreams and visions can come through and you work on them so that you make sure that they come through. Anyway, I did this kind of videos every year now, and I would encourage you that you do some form of it, either talking, because I, for example, like to talk. It's easier for me to talk about this, or you can write these down because we will forget in the future. And sometimes this is more for yourself than actually for the audience like me. If you're watching this, I'm welcoming you, and I hope you get some inspiration from that. But this is also for myself in the future, going back, looking at Daniel when I was still 38 years old. I'm 38 years old right now. So this year I will turn 39, and also what happened actually in this year. 2024 started off, we were living in Albania. We were moving to Albania, but with a German passport, we are not only allowed to stay in Albania for 3 months, like the 90 days, because they are not EU, not European Union. We were actually looking into a visa type that we can have as a digital nomad, but we couldn't find one, and I didn't want to apply for a skilled visa or something like that. And in Albania, we met a guy. He was talking to us, like he was actually from the US, and he was talking to us like, hey, you guys are digital nomads. You guys have to go to Bansko, Bulgaria, because in the summertime, they have the biggest digital nomad festival in the world. And I was like, what the fuck? What is Bansko, Bulgaria? I've never had Bulgaria and Bansko on my map. So we checked it out. We wanted to go to Greece anyway. The next stop the planned next stop was Thessaloniki, because we knew that there's a lot of digital nomads there as well. But then we checked out the prices and everything, and we figured out that Bulgaria is way more cheaper to live in than in Greece. And out of like just 2-3 months, we decided to stay longer. And this is also the first thing that happened this year. For me personally, this is the first time now in 10 years that I stayed longer in one place and not moved on after 2 or 3 months. Because I left Germany in 2015 when I went to Canada and working in Canada, also in the movie industry. But I did like Canada, New Zealand, Australia, and then I just kept traveling. And now after 10 years, I don't know how it is for you if you travel long term, if you watch my channel, or maybe you have some kind of experience in that. When you travel a lot, you kind of numb, like the feeling of finding something new is not as exciting anymore as in the beginning. I still like traveling. I still want to keep traveling in my life. And I also have the plan to have different types of home bases in the future. So this is basically my vision for my life. But it kind of felt good to stay longer in one place. And we found this place now with Bansko. We were thinking 2 years ago that we will find this place in Portugal, which is also very amazing, but Portugal turned out to be way more expensive than we thought it is. The prices came more closer to Germany than we were always reading in the internet. But Bulgaria, Bansko is still a very cheap place. And if you're a digital nomad like me, you definitely have to check out the summertime. I think June, they have the biggest digital nomad festival in the world, which also brings us to one of the next steps. So what happened last year? I connected with way more people. But I could leave this now like this and it sounds amazing. Yeah, Daniel's traveling, meeting a lot of people. At the same time, one of my problems that I'm still facing is that while I can connect with people at the beginning, I cannot hold friendships. For somehow I'm so introverted, so into my own stuff that I don't reach out. I felt more isolated this year than ever before, while still living in a place where we had more available to us and even people long-term. So where I could have conversations and stuff like that. We'll come back to this in a second. So we arrived in Bulgaria, but before we went to Bulgaria, we actually decided to stay 1 week in Athens in Greece, because that was the plan at the beginning. We wanted to go to Greece, and I have never been to Greece before, and I wanted to see Greece. So we made the negotiation with my girlfriend that, okay, then at least we do 1 week in Greece, Athens. And then from Athens, we flew to Sofia, which is the capital city of Bulgaria. Athens was amazing. Athens was one of my highlights, and also for my girlfriend. We started a complete new game thanks to Jorge, I don't know how to pronounce the name, but George from Athens. He is running one of the game shops there, and he introduced us to a New Zealand trading card game, which is called Flash and Blood. And while we were doing our sightseeing in Athens, like we were spending there 1 week, we were also running from game shop to game shop to game shop. Because side note, Susie and I, we love to play games, board games, all kind of games. And like 2 years ago, I introduced her to Magic. And she loves Magic as well, so we started playing Magic, got more and more cards. We are not on the level for now all the Magic players. We are not in the level that we are building our own decks. We just bought different types of starter decks and also those jump starters that you can mix together, but then we keep them just and play with them. We started playing online, but in Athens, we got introduced to the game Flesh and Blood, which is basically the story behind a guy who worked for Magic was coming up with an idea to create a card game that doesn't have the limitation or the downfall of these kind of games. Let me tell you what I mean. Most of these games, if you play Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Magic, they have a card specifically for energy or turns or mana that you can play something. In Magic, for example, these are the lands. And there is this rare occasion you could have the best deck. You could play with a deck that costs you $1,000. And then you play and you don't draw any lands. If that happens, the best deck will not bring you the win because you can't play anything, because without lands you cannot play any card. And he came up with this amazing idea how to make one card with all three different types: attack, defense, and mana value. So each card you have in your hand always is possible to do everything, which makes the whole game more complex. It's even more complex than Magic, but we loved it. It was amazing. I don't want to introduce you more to it. Definitely check it out. Flesh and Blood, FAB, and there's a whole community around it. So super, super cool card game. And then after that, we moved to Bansko. But first, because it was still ski season, we were not moving directly to Bansko, which is a small mountain village which had the Ski World Cup last year, and in the summertime you can go hiking and everything. It's very, very beautiful. It reminded me to Austria and Switzerland, but Austria and Switzerland is in comparison way more expensive. I mean, it is even more expensive than in Germany, but Bulgaria is the cheap alternative also for people who want to ski. You can go there in the winter, and the town comes to life in the winter season. There are shops that only open up for those 3 months when there is winter season. We can tell because now we are almost spent there a complete year, and we saw the coming and going of shops. And when they open up, they also have a fall season, not fall, but how do you say in English? They have a season where nobody is there. That's when we moved to Bansko itself. That was in April and May. At the beginning, we moved outside of Bansko, and we were in a resort that was called Aspen Golf Resort, and it was basically privatized, but also hotel still in use. So that means like 50% of all the accommodations were privately owned, and we were finding one of those places for Airbnb. But if you want, you can also go there and find a hotel as well. Why do I tell you this? Because that is going back to isolation. This is when my isolation started. While on paper, it sounded amazing after all the big cities we traveled through in the past, that now we are here a little bit in the countryside, not much more. There was one store. We have our little island. And the thing is, we purchased bikes. We still have them. We purchased bikes to go around and drive to Bansko, but we are so far off, and it was all steep mountain, that I barely made the trip to Bansko because it took like an hour all steep up backwards, which was a good work exercise. But anyway, I'm talking too much. I will just keep it like this. This will be probably one of the longer ones. So what else happened? So Bansko is an amazing, beautiful town. We had the first time a co-working. So, you know, in all the big cities or in cities over the world, you can find co-working as a digital nomad, but usually they are more expensive. Here in Bansko, we currently, with a 6 months plan, pay only €100 per month, which is super affordable. And this is now the first time in those 10 years that I could really say, like, at home. Maybe some videos I did there, but most of the time I was actually working from the co-working and not from home. So we had this nice separation of home and private and work in the co-working. The co-working also has a couple of different locations. I think I made a video here on my channel where I take you behind the scenes of a guy who's working with the iPad. So definitely check out this video, because there are 3 locations from that one co-working. But it's not just this is not the only co-working in this town. There's a couple of co-working. So if you come here, you have plenty of options to choose from. So from business-wise, what happened this year? The funny thing is, I worked more and more on the DaVinci Resolve Masterclass. I stopped uploading every day. That already happened in 2022 in October, November, but I still kept uploading every week at least 1 or 2 videos. So I think over 60 videos that I uploaded, still in German and in English, 2 channels that I was just growing. And the biggest change that happened this year was 2 additional masterclasses that I published. The first one is the Final Cut Pro Masterclass that we also sell for English and German. And it took me a while to actually work on that. And the knowledge, the learning that I got from this was really, we have this little voice in us, or I can talk from me. Maybe you can relate, maybe not. But for me, it's like this. I wanted to create the Masterclass for Final Cut Pro already when it came out, I think in May or June 2022. And then I never started working on it. Maybe I did a little outline, that's it. I never started working on it. And I had to push myself. And I was so many times so depressed about myself, sitting there, not starting, not finishing. And it was the best feeling ever when I finished the masterclass. So you remember I told you that I started becoming more isolated, but this was a big bonus because when we were living in Aspen Golf, and there was nothing around us, I had only the option to work or to game. I was still gaming, and to work. So, and in that time, in these first 3 months of the year, I finished the Final Cut Pro Masterclass and also the Speed Editor Masterclass, which was the same happened to me there, that when the Speed Editor came out, I wanted to make a video because you could also use the Speed Editor on your iPad. But I never started. It took me like 7 months later to finally start working on the masterclass. And it's not a bad thing, but I talk about this because how many times do we have these opportunities in life where we know if we would do something, you could end up making more money. So for example, if the Speed Editor would be out when I announced it that I want to create it, it's like 6, 7, 8 months earlier. That means 7, 6, 8 months earlier, the people I would already help. And that's the other thing. It's not just about the money. You're also helping people when you create your products, right? But it's hard to sometimes just push through. And I'm honest with you. This is still something I struggle. And while maybe from the outside, hey, so many videos, I think I calculated like a month ago, I have now over 1,200 videos combined in all of my YouTube channels, which is a lot of work, right? Which is that takes time. So there's definitely some kind of discipline there involved, but you always know yourself better because you know when you could have done something and you didn't. And I still know that there was so much more I could have done and I haven't done it. But that doesn't mean that the year wasn't a success. I would say it still was a very successful year, even if the growth itself wasn't as massive as in the year before. What do I mean by that? While I still had the YouTube channel and I published like 60 videos, this was one of my main focus. Like when I did the daily videos, when I talked about DaVinci Resolve and I teach you something about DaVinci Resolve, I never had the time to create the blog articles on my websites. And I have a website, phoenixnomads.com, this is for the German. And I have a website, xlima.net, which is for the English audience. And because my business that I had before, my travel business, my Canada blog and everything, I learned, this is also one reason why I have YouTube and everything, for blog articles, you always want to make everything that people can find it, that it's helpful, and then they call it SEO, search engine optimization. So you write, not just for the search engine, but you try to implement strategies and good content so that people stay longer on your articles. And one way that I figured out very early, it's not a hack anymore, but when I started that was still a hack, is why not make a video on your YouTube channel and embed that video in the same article? So on my website, I have articles about DaVinci Resolve where I teach you something about DaVinci Resolve. And at the same time, for the same topic, I also implemented my video. But when I did the daily videos, 2 videos every day for 276 days, I did not have the time to make those articles. But I know from an SEO perspective that it's actually helpful for you, the audience, and also that you can find these kind of articles, but also it will help your YouTube channel and your blog and the SEO. So what did I did last year? I published over 300 articles per language. So in total, over 600 articles that I published. Sometimes every day I did the same thing. And I was actually hoping that I can finish that task earlier, but it actually took me throughout the whole year to just catch up where I stopped with my daily uploads. So I'm still like, I would say like 20 or 30 videos behind, but now it goes faster because now I'm in that frame where I upload it only once per week and not every day. And of course, it makes sense. If I uploaded every day a video, it will also take me every day an article. I should have made more articles. It makes sense, right? Anyway, why do I say that? Two lessons that I learned there. My main traffic still comes from YouTube. So somehow my articles didn't push the traffic to my course and to my YouTube channels as much as I was hoping for. So many times I was actually even doubting myself, why do I even make these articles? Because I'm not sure if they're even helpful. But here comes another perspective of that if you're in the same boat like me. The thing is with all of these kind of content, sometimes you don't know who you help, who is coming. Even if it's just 2 or 3 customers that you get. I mean, my product costs $140, right? So that means if I sell 3 of them, that's almost $500. That is $500 more in your bank account. And is it worth? The time will tell. But I can tell you that the traffic itself is not as big as on YouTube, and all the people are coming from YouTube, which makes sense because I published all the stuff on YouTube, right? But yeah, that's one of the lessons where I still struggle a bit. Oh yeah, I forgot to say. And the other thing is it stays for long term. Like for example, this YouTube channel that you're watching right now, I started that just out of how can I say? I had another YouTube channel was all about traveling. And I wanted to do daily videos. That was not the ones when I did the Da Vinci stuff. Before I did the Da Vinci 276 days, I actually tried daily videos 2 times before. One time I managed to get to, I think 30. No, the first time I did like 12 days or something, and that was too much work. And the second time I went to like 46 days. And the 46 days, I wanted to talk about tech and everything that just happened on my day, and I didn't want to publish that on my travel channel, so I just published that here on my Daniel Kovac channel. So why do I tell that? And I think one of my videos about what I learned about 276 days, sometimes you publish something, and it happens the same with articles. They can be dead, kind of dead for 6, 7 months or even a year, and then somehow the algorithm picks it up and shows the content to the world if it's helpful, if it's good content. And that happened to some of my YouTube videos. So like for example, I have one video here on my channel that has over now almost 300,000 views. And that video only took off like 7 months after I published it. And I didn't do any advertising, nothing. It was just crazy. And the reason why is because Google actually took that video and placed it one of its top listed on the list. And the funny thing is when they took it off, also the traffic fall. For like 1.5 years, that video got a lot of traffic. And then anyway, why do I say that? If you do these kind of articles, I don't know. At the moment, it feels like I just worked for it, not much return. But I don't know what will happen in the future because the same can happen with blog articles as well. And also your website is actually growing together. What I mean or what I do here is think about it. If you have a website with 1 or 2 blog articles, yeah, only the 2 can influence each other. It's not much to grow. But if you publish more and more articles and have some called inbound strategy, so that when people come to your article and they can also find other articles on your website, it's like a spider net, right? And what happened is it's not just one article that will go up. If one is ranked good, the rest of it will be ranked as well. And that happened with my Canada blog as well. For the first 1.5 years on my Canada blog, which by the way, now is one of the biggest Canada blogs about working holiday in Canada for Germans. For the first 1.5 years, I didn't have much traffic. But then article per article, grinding on it, I kept rising the whole level of the whole website. So not just one article. So why do I say that again? Is also talking to myself. Because you don't know, Daniel, when you watch this in the future, maybe in 2-3 years, all of the work that I did this year that resulted in not much that I can talk about now maybe it will help to just 10x, 5x the whole business because the whole website and everything is just up. But time will tell. I'm also a bit worried, of course, because we're living now in a time where we have AI and content is generated in a pace never seen before. And I saw it in different different niches and different businesses that they are struggling, that some of the rankings went down. Only long term we will see what actually happens. I believe that good content will always stay on the top. Doesn't matter if it's AI created or AI competition. Good content, people want to relate to people. And I hope that my content that I create is relatable, that people get the knowledge and what they need. And that will, in the long term, will actually help and benefit my brand. Okay, 20 minutes. What else happened this year? Oh, a side project that I started in around August. Before I have to start talking about that, because I started that because of something else. I started DaVinci Resolve Desktop Masterclass. And I think there was like 1 or 2 videos here on my channel where I even talked about that. And I was struggling because let me say that. First, I still struggle because I do everything twice. So what I mean by that, I do it in English and in German. And I built now an audience in English and in German, and I have customers in English and in German. And if I wouldn't have the customers in German, the decision would be very easy. I would not delete, but I would stop making German videos because the English audience is just bigger and the market is bigger. But because I make not bad money, but good money with the German market as well. And I don't really have a vision where my brand will lead towards. And that's, for example, a problem. I don't have this streamlined thing that I want to create. I don't even know what the real upsell could be. I give you an example. If you are a coach and you help, for example, people with their finance, then you could write a book as the low end offer. And then maybe you have an online course like my DaVinci course where you have a video course and talk to people and they learn something. And then later on, you want to help even grow more, you can have a coaching business. And I know the same structure, I could do the same, kind of the same. I could also make a coaching and help people one-on-one learning DaVinci or implementing them in their business and their strategies. But that's the thing. There's different ways you can do this, right? There's different ways you can implement that. And for me, there's no clear vision where I want to go. And I give you now another example. For me, the logical next step was DaVinci Resolve Desktop because I have the knowledge about DaVinci Resolve. And why should I limit that to the iPad? I know I'm the iPad guy. I have the niche there, right? But then at the same time, it's a very small niche. A very, very, very small niche. And there's still lots of filmmakers who want to learn DaVinci but don't want to do it on the iPad. And they maybe don't even have an iPad. They just want to use a laptop. And so I started making courses and videos and the whole outline for DaVinci Resolve. And I created up to 4 modules already. Maybe I should have sold it like I did the first time, but somehow this time I told myself I want to just finish it and sell it when it's done. But something happened. DaVinci Resolve last year published the German version. So for 20 years, we didn't have a German version. Every video that you find is always about the English version, and now they published the German version. I was already done with like 4 modules of that course and also for the German version. And I'm very honest with you, I was discouraged a bit. Like, oh no, why now? Why not earlier? Why did I start later? Bad talk, you know, maybe you can relate. Sometimes our own thoughts can hold us back. And yeah, to my own, like, I would love to tell you now, like, yeah, I had the struggle and I pushed through. I never really started working on the masterclass anymore. I had so many times when I was sitting in front of that and I was confused also about the future and the vision and where to go. Should I even do desktop? Because there's so many other desktop, like all these voices and doubts. I had even people who wanted to learn from me, but I didn't continue and didn't finish, and I was very discouraged. And because I'm also a perfectionist, and I know that perfectionism is actually just a fear of failure, and I have that. That's one of my belief systems that I still have ingrained from my childhood that I'm working on and I haven't finished, like beating. So I have this a lot that I think I'm not good enough, and when I want to do something, I want to do it correct and very, very good. which also has a positive, right? It's not all bad when you have these kind of beliefs. The positive, for example, is the DaVinci Resolve iPad Masterclass with all the modules, with all the bonuses. There's so much in that I give with this masterclass, way too much. You could argue that this is too much that I give because there are bigger courses that cost 1,000 and plus that don't give as much. But then at the same time, the perfectionism and also that I want to make my customers happy and that I want to feel happy when I present a course and charge for it. That's why I do what I do. And that's the funny thing. In the long run, those kind of businesses and products who are the most competitive, who give the most value, are the products that people buy. So it's not a bad decision to over deliver like crazy for your customers, because then customers will love it. And I think everybody who's watching, who is part of the masterclass, knows how much value is in. But now let's talk about this. Why is this a big thing? I couldn't just make a DaVinci Resolve masterclass beginner, like a mini course. No, it has to be the same and even more, because now it's the bigger software. It's the desktop one with more pages. It's just, I think I started working on a project that maybe will take another 6-7 months just to finish the basic courses and the basic videos. And I was discouraged, I'm very honest, and I haven't picked it up. It's still on my list and plan. Let's talk a bit about 2025. I want to make this course, it's not that yet. Probably when I'm happy, like Final Cut Pro, when I'm done, I probably will be happy, and then I will make a video and telling you like, oh, you should just finish it. Yeah. But there's other things that I want to finish this year as well. I just got the new iPhone 16 Pro Max, not because I needed one. I had the iPhone 13 Pro, and you can do amazing videos with that one too. I think you don't have to upgrade also for the camera button. I tried this now, and I'm not really convinced with that, but I will make videos about this. But what I want to create is a smartphone filmmaking course. Probably like a 7 to 14 day smartphone filmmaking course where you get the basics to make content with that. And then maybe some advanced modules for the people who finish the first 7 to 14 days so that they get more value out of that as well. And I think this is actually a direction that will, how you say that in English, combine, adjust, complementary. It is a very complementary step because all my brand is about digital nomads, right? Being traveling, lightweight, editing on the iPad, and also making your videos on a smartphone in the day that we have right now. There's even Hollywood movies who are done completely on smartphones. So it is possible. And if you know the technology behind how to do it, then you can create amazing videos. And that's what I want to teach. So what I decided for the upcoming year, I will definitely create that course first. I have, I think, a bit more passion for that one. And then after that, I will create the masterclass for DaVinci Resolve. Okay, let's talk about another project that I started that is also coming up to the end of the year. What happened? Because I stopped and I was very depressed at that time. This was around August, September 2024. And I felt like an absolute failure. I mean, I kept working on my articles and my YouTube stuff, but I felt like a failure. Let's be honest. I felt like a failure because I didn't finish the video, and I had this other voice, not the video, the masterclass for DaVinci, and I had this other voice in my head that told me like, Daniel, at the same time, this is the best time that you could do it. You will be the first in German to have a course in German. Yeah, but the push wasn't strong enough. Anyway, then I decided like, okay, what many people don't know, so my first business is a Canada blog in German. And I published a book in 2020 and I had the printed version in 2021. And this is not a business that makes me a lot of money, but it's also a perfect example that you can create something that is passive. Since like 2021, I haven't touched that business at all. And after the COVID time, life got back, traveling got back. It also came back to the numbers that I had before COVID. Of course, that business was hit with COVID. Like people were not allowed to travel. That also hit my business and I made way less money. But the good thing, now afterwards, there's two things that happened. Number one, my business was set up like an online business that has not much fixed cost that is expensive. So even if I didn't make much money in the COVID time, I never had to quit the business. I just focused on something new, which is my filmmaking stuff. I still finished my Canada blog while we were still in COVID. This is 2020. I focused a lot on that book. And it's also a very good book about work and travel in Canada for German audience. And what I always said at that time also to friends is now, like, okay, 2015 I left Germany, right? And I traveled to Canada. I did working holiday in Canada. Then I did young professionals in Canada. And then I decided to go to New Zealand and Australia also on a working holiday visa. This is the start of my traveling time. And I wanted to do all of these because the working holiday visas in the most countries in the world, you can only have them until 30, with some exceptions, like Canada, for example, 35. Depends on the country where you come from, okay? I talk now about Germans. So for us Germans, we can go to Canada until 35 and get a working holiday visa. And basically what a working holiday visa is you get 1 year a visa that allows you to work in certain places, most of them, not all of them, with a certain, anyway, some certain restrictions, but it's almost an open work permit. And you have the same for New Zealand and Australia. And this is a very easy way to get experience in another country. And I wanted to do New Zealand, Australia, and Canada. Because when I started doing this, I was already 28. So I knew I had to go with 28 or I would never do it. And I did it. And I spent 4 years working holiday. I fell into a hole afterwards because after I turned 32, because there's a trick that you can do to still do working holiday while you are already older. And the trick is very simple. You have to apply for the visa while you're still in the age range. But then you get the visa, how do you say that? The letter of invitation. And now you're allowed to go to the country in 1 year. It's so complicated how I say that. But basically what it means is I went to New Zealand. And in New Zealand, I turned 30. And before I turned 30, or 31 even, I applied for the Australian visa. And because of that, I could even travel to Australia while I was turning 32. Because I applied for the visa while I was still 30. And it counts the date when they give you the approval for the visa. Okay, back to the normal topic. When I finished my book, the Working Holiday Canada book, I told even my friends that now it's actually very easy to write books about New Zealand and Australia as well. Because like 40% is the same. How I get jobs, how I do stuff in the country, how to apply for jobs and everything, right? Because I teach everything about how to do working holiday in these countries in the book. And then I told myself like, okay, I can just make the other books and it's actually easier than the first book. But you have to know that my first book, it took me actually 4 years to write my first book because I'm not the best writer. And also the first 3 years, it was always on and off. I was really active on it the last year, but it still took me a lot of time for not so much money. Remember, I told you that the business is okay because it's passive, but it's not a business that makes a lot of money. But one good thing is I became the authority when I created the book. So if you have a small business, definitely consider a book, not because the book will make you money, but you will become the authority. I'm actually thinking about that in my filmmaking genre as well. I'm not sure entirely what I will do. I guess I will do a kind of filmmaking course or book. But yeah, that's a complete topic for the future. It's not planned for 2025. Back to 2024. When I was so depressed with my Da Vinci stuff, I decided I have to do something. And I knew that now the time with ChatGPT and all the AIs, we can now improve writing and let stuff write for us and then go over it. How fast can I be to write these 2 other books if I use ChatGPT, but as the authority because I have all the knowledge? And okay, I finished both books. They are not published yet because I'm still working on another project that I will tell you in a second. I finished both books in just 2 months. The good and the bad. The good, yes, I was way faster than when I wrote the original Canada book. But to be fair, I used a couple of tricks. First, I decided I will use the exact same outline and only change the chapters and the content where I had to change it based on the country. So obviously, in Canada, there's a different type of system for your social security number, while in Australia and New Zealand, that's different. So I had to write about this and make it accurate. But I could use ChatGPT to come up with an outline or a beginning for example, these topics. And now the bad, we always talk about AI, that it's so easy now to generate all of the things. It's not as easy as telling him, write me this and it's done. because I'm the authority on that topic, I could see how many times the chatbot was basically doing garbage. The only reason why it was helpful is because I could spot where it was garbage and I could use the helpful stuff. But if you do this in a topic where you have no knowledge and you just trust the AI, this is my, like maybe in the future it will be different, but ChatGPT 2024, August, September, and November. That was the time when I was using it, and even the paid version. And I still had these issues that you had to tell him sometimes like 6 or 7 times to come up with something. Never trust him. He even changes things that you already told him as parameters. Parameters, you understand? Yeah, so it was a hustle. I don't want to complain. I just want it to be, I see it like this as 2 things. Number one, that still means that the barrier of entry, even if it's easier than ever, people still have to know what they're writing about, and you have to struggle with ChatGPT until you get something that you can use. That means not everyone will write books. And also, keep in mind when I say 2 months, the good thing is I don't have a main job, right? Like my main job is my business. At that time, I was focusing almost all of my time into that. If you do this like part-time, it would probably take me like 4 months to write these books. Still a good value compared to my first book. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on that. And while I was writing the books, I was actually thinking about what can I implement in these books that will also maybe help me monetize wise. Because I have a couple of affiliates, but I never looked into the affiliates ever. And I was thinking about, do I even miss out on something? And then I came to something obvious. While I was doing my working holiday, I did 3 years the so-called van life. I was actually living in my own converted camper van. And at the beginning of the year, a friend of mine who has a business also about New Zealand, where he sells and rents out camper vans, like he is the middleman and gets the companies to the customers and everything. But he has a very good model. He actually talked to me throughout the year and he was asking like, hey, Daniel, you have the Canada block and also the Australian block, because I have an Australian block as well. Do you want to jump on board? Because he has another partner, that's also a good friend of mine. He also has a New Zealand block. And we want to do this now for Australia, New Zealand, Canada as well. But we can't do this alone. We could do this together. And when he first approached me, I was like, no, I'm so into my filmmaking stuff, I probably don't have the time to do it. But when I started writing the books, I was actually thinking about it. Hey, that's also part of me. I show now all the filmmaking stuff, but I'm a traveler, 10 years traveling, digital nomad. I was living 3 years in my self-converted camper vans. And then I looked in my book, even my Canada one, I never have any affiliates, not even rental cars. Like I could probably, how much money, you remember at the beginning of the video I talked about how much money you can lose. And it's not about the money, but it's about sometimes just the strategy. You implement the strategy once and then it's there. That's the cool thing about the passive stuff. So I was thinking to myself like, what? How much money do I actually lose by not having any affiliate? And what better thing than this opportunity? So in November of 2024, I started working with them, starting the whole thing for van life. And we actually even, I remember back in 2017 in New Zealand, I bought a website that I never used since then, but just for the future of van life, I have it. It's called van2life.com. The website isn't completely done yet, but there's a couple of stuff already on if you want to check it out. But it's still in the making, everything. So this business will still take a couple of months until we really can announce it as the finished business. But I'm working on this one as well. And the books will have these affiliates, which is actually our own company that I can implement in those books. So that happened this year. Yeah, we decided, back to Bansko, we decided to stay longer because it's a very nice spot, very nice place. Definitely check it out if you ever have the time and you come to Bulgaria. It's basically a touristic spot. Like this is where people go to escape the city life. Then they come to Bansko. So there's probably way more that happened this year, but this is probably also the longest video that I ever did about these recap videos. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope your year was an amazing year as well. And you can hear I'm a little bit sick. That's also why I didn't make as much videos. I'm enjoying the family. And I wish you and all of us here a happy new year 2025. I wish that your dreams and everything that you are doing, that you get inspired, that you make the stuff, because that's what we can do. We can control our outcome by doing the work. And for another amazing year, Thank you so much that you're here. If you really listen to the end, 40 minutes, bless you. God bless you. See you soon. No, I'm finished. I'm Daniel. Bye.